Jeff Mateer is our guest. Jeff?
Hey, how are you doing, Michael?
I'm good. So tell us what exactly happened at the hearing today. But first, why was there a hearing at the federal district court today regarding Arlene, the Queen of Maine Ocasio?
Well, it was a status conference that the court had set some time ago to kind of see where things stand. At the end of June, the federal judge, had asked us, the attorneys who represent the veterans and represent the National Memorial Ladies, and Pastor Scott Rainey to sit down with the government. And the first thing he asked us to do is basically government. He told the government lawyers, check out this story. I mean, in the judge's words, and I think others, I mean, is this really going on? And so we in sort of an unconventional way, we of course did what the judge asked us to do and brought in our clients and let the government ask them any question they wanted to ask them to confirm their story. And it's not a story because it's the truth. And so the government has done that now. And after that, we and a 25 affidavit sworn testimony to the government saying, yes, this is occurring out at the Houston National Cemetery. So what occurred today was the judge asking us coming in to find out, well, where are we on this case? And really, what the judge did is ask some hard questions to the government lawyers. We had proposed several weeks ago, actually July 29th, we sent to the government a proposed consent decree and an agreed order which the judge would sign, which would stop the religious discrimination out at the Houston National Cemetery.
Now,
and we have, go ahead, Michael.
Jeff, according to your pleadings, what is the religious discrimination that is going on against the families of veterans at the Veterans Cemetery?
With respect to the families, it is they are being told and not given the full options with regard to the burial service. And so what is happening out there out at Houston is the families are not being apprised of what they can and cannot include. And actually, we believe they're being discouraged from using, for instance, the VA Honor Guard, who has a beautiful burial ritual that dates back nearly 100 years, which does reference God, but it is certainly just it's patriotic. It's honors the service of the veteran who's passed away. It's just absolutely beautiful. The cemetery officials there are not providing those options to the families. And the three families that have joined the lawsuit that were represented, each of them at different times were told that ritual was not an option for them. One of them, Lisa Ward, actually went when she heard that and said, "You can't do that burial ritual at the cemetery." And she just said, well, my husband would want that. He's a 30-year veteran. I mean, gosh, I'll do it somewhere else. So he was denied the right of even having his burial service at the cemetery. And so we're representing Lisa Ward. And it's really, it's just more and more. And even the judge recognized that today. As we investigate, we keep hearing more and more of hostility to religion occurring out there.
And just so that I understand, who is eligible to be buried at the National Cemetery? All veterans?
Yeah, if you've served this country in the armed services, you are eligible.
Okay, and how exactly does Arlene Ocasio, the director, how does she communicate with the families? Is there some sort of permitting process? Is there an application process? How is she injecting herself into this?
Well, I mean, what they do is if you had a loved one who was a veteran who's passed away, there's literally a 1-800 number that you call, and I think it gets routed to St. Louis. And eventually, if you call that number to make arrangements for your loved one to be buried at a national cemetery, and you tell them where, and then you're eventually contacted by a cemetery official. Who certainly you pick out the plot, you pick out your headstone, and really what we've been saying this lawsuit, I mean, that's really what the cemetery should be providing. They should basically sort of logistics.
Right.
That they don't need. Before Ocasio arrived at the cemetery, I mean, pretty much that's what they did, and they coordinated, the location, and really the person in charge of your burial is the funeral home, and the funeral home would say, hey, your loved one is a service member. Do you want military honors? And would provide the options. Unfortunately, this cemetery director, and really acting pursuant, and this is the trouble, and what we found out is she's acting upon national policies. and she's implementing. Perhaps she's going too far, but what she would say is, I'm just following the orders, and that's troubling. And that's what we told the judge today. Is, in addition to what we're saying, we want these national policies. If we proceed with the court hearing, declared unconstitutional, or if the government's willing to do the right thing, they need to rescind these national policies. So there's no doubt the government needs to get out of the burial service. They don't need to be involved in that process.
So that I understand, Jeff Mateer is our guest with the Liberty Institute. So that I understand, is it the policy of the Veterans Affairs Department that you cannot have at your private burial for your veteran, you cannot have a religious ceremony?
Well, what their policy is, that's a little bit broader than what their policy. What their policy says is, if you have a ritual, a burial ritual that's conducted by, for instance, the VFW or the American Legion or a service like that, then that it needs to be limited to what Ocasio calls, and what the Undersecretary of the VA calls, the four core elements: just the folding of the flag, just taps, and that it would not include any religious speech. And so what it precludes, however, is this nearly 100-year-old service that the VFW performs, that the American Legion performs, in which the commander of the Honor Guard recites a speech, and then there's a chaplain who prays a prayer, which do reference God. What the policy says is that's improper when you have a burial ritual, when you have military honors. And what we're claiming is that that's crazy. That's not up to the government to say. It's up to the family to decide.